say in these last few days in the sessions that I've moderated is that, you can watch this wherever you are around the world from the comfort of your mobile phone, your handphone, your laptop, your computer screen, whatever you wish, whether you're in the kitchen, cooking your respective meals for you and your children, whether you're at your desk, whether you're in your bedroom, whether you're in the bathroom. You know what? Technology is technology. You are virtual and you are with us as well. So the questions have been coming in thick and fast in every session that I moderated and other sessions as well. So thank you to our audience for asking some fantastic questions. My name is Ben Ibrahim, and for the 11th year in a row, I am your MC and moderator for this wonderful event, Grudge on Aspire. But in this case, it's Grudge on Aspire 2021. Our topic right now is the 2021 workplace and beyond. As you all know, let's call a spade a spade. We have acclimatized to a working environment which some of us like and some of us don't like. As they say, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not fun. So, but what to do? You just have to adapt with the time. So what does that mean for all of you as fresh graduates, or like mid-career recruits who are coming in and trying to adapt to a new workplace? It's not like the good old days. You send your CV in by email or the portal link or the website link, or you still do that these days, but you're waiting for an outcome of an interview. You're waiting for an outcome of a face-to-face discussion. Ain't that happening anymore anytime soon because of the environment that we are in. So here to help us answer some very interesting questions on the 2021 workplace and beyond question, and we're going to ask them some pretty tough questions. Questions like, is this going to happen for the longest time? We're going to be asking them to put their futurist hat on. Okay, so no right or wrong answer, strictly their opinion, and based on the opinion from themselves, from the facts that they know, and also from the companies, the respective companies that they work with. So on my right is I would like to introduce our panel one by one. So on my right, right here is Christine Young from Talent Acquisition Manager of Experian, a very, very good IT company. Thank you very much, Christine, for being with us here today. And then on my left, the only, well, I like to think of myself as a gentleman, but the other gentleman on this panel, his name is Encik Ali Walid, a very creative fella. You look at him, you probably think, wow, this guy looks like a super approachable guy, but once upon a time, he was a mechanical engineer. Okay, so he knows a lot of things about beams and the physics and mathematics of how things should work, but his job is about connecting it to the people that he works with, as like our panel here today. So thank you, Ali, for being with us here today, who is the head of human resources at Sam Dhabi. And then below Christine, in terms of the screen, obviously, is Yo Hosi, who's the talent acquisition senior lead at Clarivate. And Clarivate is a company which is all about information and insights company. So thank you so much, Hosi, for being with us here today. And then we have the lady with the easiest name in the world, Kelly Fung. Okay, Kelly is a name of very many popular Hollywood celebrities these days. Okay. All right, so it's a name that rolls off the tongue very, very nicely. I don't have to think about it. Over to you, Kelly Fung. Not Kelly, but Kelly Fung. So it sounds like I'm hosting a news station. But Kelly, all jokes aside, Kelly is the head of talent acquisition and at TDCX. So we'll be a very, very strong background in sourcing, recruitment, not just internally, but externally as well. So Kelly knows a thing about how to suss out people, how to assess people's skill set and characteristic to a particular job and to a particular workplace. As I always say at Grudge on Aspire, it's not about looking for a job, it's looking about a career that you can grow from strength to strength, from trainee to executive, executive to manager, manager to, God willing, inshallah, senior manager, head of department. And maybe one day you are the director, you are the CEO, you are the managing director. That's what companies like the companies that are on our panel right here, right now, and also the companies that we've spoken to over the last few days, that's what it's all about for them. Their quest is to look for talents to develop, okay? It's not about asking someone to do a job. Anybody can do a job, but can someone go the distance with a particular company and grow, twofold, you grow in terms of skills and characteristics and leadership skills, they grow and they get some set of talented resources to do the work and to make the company a lot of money. So that's what it's all about. All right, nothing too idealistic, but very much futuristic about that. So, Posi, I'm going to ask you the first question. Again, panel, thank you for being with us. If you put side by side, how would you compare the conditions of the workplace in 2020 and 2021? It's only been 17 months or whatever it's been, but 2020 hit us all with a bang. We didn't expect it to happen. And then somehow we're slowly getting used to it. What's your views on that?
Well, I think there are a few aspects that we have to consider, right? I think the first one will be our people and how we need to keep them informed, connected, and engaged. Surely there has been some difference, right? Whereby the importance of being connected becomes more eminent as we evolve in a way that we interact among our colleagues and also the way we do business. So when previously we would walk up to somebody in the office or bump into each other at the pantry, now there's more work from home arrangements. We begin to use communication tools more frequently, internally and externally, using Teams, Zoom, WebEx, WhatsApp, to communicate with each other. And also moving towards the digital era, people are also getting more receptive. In terms of how we do business, large transactions are now today able to be concluded using phone calls and emails. So this is where the role of our inside sales at Clarivate Global Business Center in Penang has the advantage, where, for example, US dollar 100,000 deal can be concluded via phone calls and follow-up emails, right? And on the trends that we are experiencing right now, markets are actually opening up and opportunities are increasing. So this is actually a very exciting time, if you ask me, as we see the markets in APAC and South Asia, what lies ahead. Sorry, you're going to say something?
Okay. No. Please continue.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And there's lesser travel, which means, lower carbon footprint. There's lesser travel and more online meetings and conferences being arranged. Employees are spending less time on the road commuting to and from work, with more of these work from home arrangements and more virtual, capabilities to influence virtually. That becomes more and more important. That brings us closer virtually. It's a different method, So method is the other thing that we are talking about, where things are being conducted, and somehow the way we look into how we do things virtually goes into a deeper level, and how we can influence each other virtually becomes more relevant, right? So we do have a new office at Clarivate GVC where we moved in earlier this year, so we miss our office. We actually have done employee surveys about how they felt about work from home arrangements, and generally the feedback is, though they at this moment favor the work from home arrangements due to safety precautions, they do miss the social interaction where we physically pop in or bump into each other at the pantry or have meetings together. This is something the employees have missed, and during the survey, this was one of the results that came up. And in terms of availability, I would say, as a result, when you talk about communication, this is another aspect. There is also the availability change where team members, with team members, since we can't see each other or just walk to see each other, we now can't really see each other, and we've got to either call or ping each other before calling. And that requires a certain level of respect, if you may, a mutual respect in terms of understanding that the other person might be on the line or engaged in a meeting or somehow, being aware that the person may not be so easily as available as when we see them physically, and maintaining a healthy working relationship from that aspect is very important as we increase the awareness on that. And also from the aspect of employee recognition, where when an award is usually presented, physically, where we have a group of people in the office, that has also changed, whereby we do it virtually. And applauses, you don't hear the applauses, the applauses are read instead of being heard. And the advantage of that is that we can invite a bigger group, right? For example, team members from APAC or global team members. It's just that we have to accommodate in terms of the different time zones to make this a successful one in terms of attendance and participation, right? We used to eat together also, in the office. Right now, we have modified or changed to having virtual lunches. We turn on the camera, we sit in front of the laptop, and we are having lunch, enjoying lunch at a safe distance, still connecting well, and we can take pictures of the everybody eating in front of our laptops. So that's basically some of the aspects that have changed.
Okay,
Right.
great. Thanks for sharing that first point there. And we go to Adli right now. Adli, halfway through 2021, what is the most common trends that you and your company saw, that you had to implement in the workplace because of what happened in 2020 and due to the pandemic and very much the change that in the world that we are in right now?
All right. Hey, thanks, Ben, for the questions. I think
No problem.
I would like to take the opportunity also to thank Graduan for inviting me in the session. So just a quick one. I think the keyword that probably I could share across to everyone watching, right? So it's actually the trend. The trend has always been from 2020 to now. The other word than deja vu is definitely finding that balance, right? So balance is actually the keywords. 2020, what happened? As an organization, right? GLC, as ourselves, there's always this viewpoint that the management believe that everything must happen in the office. Work must happen in the office, right? What you cannot get seen probably will not get done, right? So in that context, what has happened was suddenly COVID happened, and we all got this chance to say, hey, let's work from home, right? And the young ones is the one that the Gen Z, the Gen millennial are the one that, oof, we like this, right? In 2020, right? Because this is what we've been asking for, right? But what has happened, I think 6 months down 2021, what our organization has been doing was keeping track in terms of having this continuous pulse, because we want to get the feeling and what's happening on the ground, right? So this pulse continuously is one simple one question. We throw it out, get the input from the people, so we know what is happening, right? So more and more we see the not just the young ones. If I can categorize this right, we have the Gen Millennial and Gen Z, then we have the Gen Y, and then the Gen X, right? So the view is what we're seeing that every group demographic of our employee are responding differently, right? And this are something that we take as a concern point, because we need to find that balance, right? Our young ones, before they say we want to work from home, and then they now realize that home is kind of like a jail to them. Can't go out, can't meet people, can't meet my friend.
Sure.
Now they start also missing their bosses, right? Missing their colleague, right? Wanting to have that session where, at least if my boss wanted to actually guide me or even be angry at me, I can feel the warmth of my boss in front of me, rather than just the warmth of your laptop being on, right? So then we talk about the Gen X, the Gen Y, the one that has family. Now they're struggling to say, how am I supposed to balance my meeting with my kids' PDPR, right? So then we talk about the boss said, oh, these people can't work from home. Now they are the ones saying that, hey, nothing collapsed, business still run. Can we then continue with this going forward? Not needing to actually, let's squeeze our operation. Let's probably do more kind of like satellite office. We don't need everyone to be in office. We do kind of like rotation, so that we allow things to run a bit more manageable, right? So it became a different point of view to them. To them, is like, okay, if we before think that we need to have a big office, 7 floor office with 3 wings, for example, but nowadays we say that probably we just need a single wing with probably 3 floor, right? Where people having to work from office, now we can actually run the business better, save a bit more in terms of electricity, like what Posi mentioned, reduce our carbon footprint. because sustainability is something where organizations are looking at. I mean, that's the same as Sanabi. All we are focusing on sustainability, so all of this take into consideration. But striking that balance, right, also meaning to us is to ensure that as the organization continue to ride the wave of COVID, we take full responsibility into our employee health and mental well-being, right? With this continuous challenge of daily COVID cases in the rise, where people and families are kind of like being burdened by managing what can be managed within their four walls, right? So I think what we have been doing and what we've been saying is to ensure that we really take stock on our people mental well-being. I think what Posi is and the team is doing in terms of having that engagement, having that lunch together, it's something we'll continue an effort that we want to put across. So then we also open up channels. We launch our new program. It's actually our employee well-being program. So we allow channels for any of our employees, if they have any concern, any issues, they can dial in with our on-call psychiatrists or counselors so that they can have that conversation, right? Because sometimes they don't want to be open to their colleague, but they are having that stress, having that fatigue, right? So those are the things that we're putting on board today. So as I put it across, what I see, what is the trend? The trend is to still continue to find that balance. And it's a challenge, but I think as we progress and as vaccination numbers continue to grow, we should be able to ride this well as a team and as a company. Yep.
No, very inspirational there indeed. Riding together as a team and also just checking on people to see what can be done in terms of flexibility and, like our home is no longer our home. It's everything. It's everything rolled into one. And when everything is rolled into one, sorry to say, it is a little bit more stressful than positive because, how do you disconnect from work or how do you disconnect from home? How do you disconnect from other things? Because we don't have the luxury of going in a car anymore, listening to the radio or, listening to some of the platforms that we like to listen to on the way to work, but it is what it is. We adapt. So Christine, speaking of adaptability, I don't know why this question has been designed for you. Maybe, you have a futurist face or futurist persona, but this is the question that every single person in the world is asking each other or themselves is the workplace likely to go back to the old normal later this year or anytime soon? What's your view on that? We won't hold it to you if the answer is not what people want to hear.
Yeah, to be frank, if you ask me, I don't think we can assume we can return to the same culture or the old normal that existed pre-pandemic, to be frank. I think there are just too much of changes that, either in the individual level or at the business level. And with the changes that we have now, it fast forward the future to us, and the future is now. The future depends on what you do today. And the most important for me, the most important thing and the amazing thing that you can do it for the future is really, please don't imagine it's only with the spaceships or the flying cars. I think the future is really the beings who is able to start now, action now, and fly with the future. So I would say that and if you ask me, just give it in a simple metaphors, right? No one will be thinking we are able to, video chat on the phone. If you ask our parents back in time, they will say, what are you doing? Are you talking to the phones or what you are doing now? You are checking Facebook on the phone. Everything is on the phones. But we adapt so well, So I think it is part of the evolutions. It's just that I think, being human, when you are being restricted, your movement being restricted and your choices being restricted, and you found it, why I can't do the things like before. Yeah, so I think it's more like, being conscious to the choices that you have. And certainly it's an evolution for every one of us. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Kudos to you for answering that question because you answered it quite well and in the most respectful fashion because it's what we do with the situation that's in front of us. I know that there's certain people who I put my mental health hat on here because I'm also a certified mental health trainer and I deal with some of these things with my clients in the sense that, it's it's what you do with it. You know, if you're unhappy in a workplace and something that, and this workplace is, you know, just demanding the sun and the moon from you. I mean, you have choices. You have choices that a company that will still demand other things, but maybe on your terms, you know, on the terms that make it comfortable for you. Because we live in that generation where mental health is very, very high on the agenda. We're not using that anymore. Or we are Asian, we don't really open up to those things. No, there are people who are opening up and they're saying, look, I'm frustrated, I'm hungry, I need more opportunity. And, you know, COVID halted those opportunities, but again, gotta move forward. And easier said than done. It's difficult, and our sympathies are to everybody out there who's facing this challenge with a big capital C. So now we move on to Kelly. Kelly, how is your organization preparing your employees for the current workplace scenario and the future workplace scenario? Because correct me if I'm wrong, that the future workplace scenario is very much the now workplace scenario.
Hey, Ben, thank you so much. Very good questions. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Kelly here from TDCX. It's actually a very relevant question. What do you mean by like current and future workplaces, right? Because at the moment for TDCX, we already prepare our employee to work for the future. Just because at the moment, right, we have 90% of the employees in the workforce, they're already working from home for all the sites in TDCX, because we exist in 11 countries in the world and 90% already working from home. Take, for example, Japan. They're already allowing the employees working from their home. And then moving forward, right, we may not have a physical office needed on certain extent, yeah. We like what we mentioned, future is now. Last year, back then in pandemic, I still remember on that, right, on the 18th of March, when government has announced that a movement control order. So prior to that, TDCX would have already anticipated it. We actually used only like within 48 hours to relocate every single employee. We have 3,500 employees in Malaysia. Every single employee was relocated and work from home, being the case that IT, they have to make sure when they arrange certain VPNs and things like that, devices for employees to enable them allowing to work from home. At the same time, they do have Microsoft Teams installed for VPN score, right? In order to have communications and things like that. On the other hand, we actually, aside from doing the makan session or the what you call the celebrations together, right?
Nothing can ever replace a makan session. We are Malaysian, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right. We are foodie here, right? So we are no longer having that big crowd of us to makan together. But what we do is, in order to make everybody engaged and makes every team members, right, every of the employees included, we do have our lockdown party actually on every monthly basis. So that at 6:30, we encourage all our employees to join this lockdown party. So management, they actually walk the talk, so that they actually, the Mancom, together with all the employees' engagement and together with all employees, encourage everybody to turn on their camera, is also another tips that we should be actually prepare ourselves for future. Like right now, what we are turning on our video, because we actually work like for HR here, the team, my team is work 100% virtually at home. I do have team member which is works from Korea, Japan, India, Philippines. They all working virtually without any issues in terms of their productivity. Yeah. Our cookies, food, deliverables, right? Like Ben, like what you mentioned, cannot avoid makan. So what our employees engagement team does is that they actually delivered all these like yoga ball, cookies, festive season celebrations, and even e-money ang pao, right, to all our single employees, so that they feel that they are being cared by the company. And at the same time, to certain programs, right, we actually consider of their mental well-being. We provided employee assistance program, because we know that like it's not easy, it's not meant for everybody. Just like Ali together with Posi has mentioned, right? They do miss their workspaces, even though it is pandemic for healthy situation, they may need to work from home. But sometimes, right, I did mentor some of the employees. I think they are really stressed out, because at home it's not only themselves, they also have parents, they have kids, and sometimes they all, without the me time, without the me corner, maybe they feel very stressful. And this employee assistance program is also important for them to keep their mental and being felt that they have to have a healthy mental, yeah,
Nice.
healthy mind as well.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, panel, look, you've done extremely well in terms of answering the first set of questions. Very good warm up and great way to sort of introduce the topic and giving personal views of the topic. No right or wrong answer. Every company is different. But we move on to the second part right now, where I need you to, and I say this in the most respectful way possible, just try to keep the answers in this part of the session a bit tighter, because I'm trying to allocate a bit of time for the questions which are already coming in. Okay, and there's a lot of people watching this, high numbers watching, so that's really, really good. So is that okay with everybody? Yeah? Yeah, give me a thumbs up. Yep, we love the thumbs up. We can't fist pump each other, or we can't like wave each other like we do at the workplace, or greet each other with elbows, because it is all virtual. So we'll go back to you, Posi.
Yep.
That the question here on paper is, what aspect of work do you see gaining importance in the years to come? Now, let me redefine that question in a bit more young man, young woman language, because, and this is a very interesting question, because we work in a very talented world, very competitive. There's a lot of university graduates every year. Mid-career recruits are going back to university to do MBAs, masters, possibly PhDs. Okay, I mean, I tell you, one day a degree will be seen as will be seen as just like in India. It's like a degree is seen as a diploma, because everybody has got a masters, you know, regardless of what occupation you're from. So moving forward in this current working environment, which is looking like it's going to stick around in the very foreseeable future, what skill set do you think is going to be part of the mix that you need to have? Yes, you need to present well. Yes, you need to be very IT savvy. Yes, you need to be, you know, with this engaging relationship building. Is engagement relationship building so important? Because, you know, relationship building online is quite difficult. You can't buy, I mean, yes, you can, like Kelly said, you can buy cookies, but sometimes you need to sit down with someone and eat the cookies together to build that relationship. So, I mean, where are we going in terms of the skill set? Because I don't think anybody would be brave enough to say to their prospective employer in the future, I'm not very good at working from home.
Okay, thanks, Ben. All right. There are some aspects that you need to consider, right? When we talk about this topic, it's a very, very relevant topic, especially for you know, job seekers. So one that relates to job security, right? Which is very important for employees and job seekers. The importance of being agile, right? Staying relevant in order to adapt to the changing environment. I think this in itself requires virtual capabilities and communicating differently. Our capabilities to connect and speak up right now becomes even more important virtually, right? So when we talk about virtual capability and communication, we have to ask ourselves, do you find it more intimidating physically standing in front of an audience versus presenting live virtually, right? And this depends on the individual. Different people have different feel and different, you know, degrees to finding which option is the one that's more challenging, right? But the relevance of adapting to that change and the methods to what I was talking about earlier on in terms of what has increased in terms of importance. The good side, for example, if you are loading a video of yourself, is, you know, you get to have a few cuts when you want to stand out. For example, if you want to have an elevator pitch, candidates who want to apply for jobs using this method to catch the attention of interviewers and hiring managers without being prompted. So this is one of the tips to job seekers, right, and career builders, to enable yourself to stand out and show some level of initiative even before you land an interview and get the dream job that you're seeking, right? So the other thing which I feel that I think closest to the hiring managers and you know, interviewers per se would be the EQ, right? Building engagement and staying connected virtually, building trust virtually, right? So the EQ capability requires us to put ourselves in the other person's shoes, right? So being able to build engaging relationships and build trust virtually is a skill that is gaining importance in this virtual world. And personally, I would say this is not something that you can study in school,
No.
right? Yeah. So you gain that skill as you practice more, as you make more mistakes. You're allowed to make those type of mistakes, right? And then you pick yourself up and you build and you build and you build and you build again. So there is that's the thing that comes with experience. You don't learn that in school, right? And last but not least, you still need technology enhancement and AI growth. So leveraging on technology enhancements and AI growth as tools, right? This relates to innovation and technology. So that is why for Clarivate, we use the term revivolution, which is a philosophy which Clarivate preaches and lives by. So even at our Clarivate GBC Penang, we have a room called Revivolution, where all team members can go and brainstorm, discuss, and create amazing ideas. This is where ideas give birth, right? So this is in a nutshell what is gaining relevance in today's world.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing that. I mean, very tangible stuff that you left with us there, but which leads to Adli, who'll probably take part 2 of that question. And Adli, in your opinion, what skills do you think will remain evergreen and ever so popular? I mean, Moise just mentioned about pitching, about, revolution and meeting and discussing. We're doing it in a different way, but in my opinion, WhatsApp will always be the skill that we need to type a WhatsApp as fast as possible. I'm quite lazy these days. I voice my WhatsApps because sometimes I'm so lazy just to like type a karangan or an essay. And I always encourage people that, if you've got something to discuss, let's talk about it. But the Gen Y have shown that calling they're not really comfortable with calling. They'd rather WhatsApp it out. And the older generation finds that frustrating. And like all our panels have said to us today, it's about finding the middle ground and in the middle. So apart from the WhatsApp skills, apart from the pitching on video, like what Poesy was saying, what do you think will stay always relevant, regardless whether we're working virtual, physical, or other?
Okay, Ben, I think let me just probably put it in a simple answer. I think one skills, where we know we have, if you look at the global standards in terms of competency that the leaders would have, the employee would have, is up to 32, right? But if you just want one, if you were looking at one, I think it's resourcefulness. All right. So, I mean, young ones, I mean, graduates, even those who are experienced, right? The ability to be having that resourcefulness, thinking, and skills is important, right? Because if you look at current setup, or everything is online, right? You barely have even time to actually have a session with your bosses because your bosses got stuck with other meetings, multiple meetings, back-to-back meetings, right? So the question is, if you need something to be done, can you be resourceful enough to find ways, maneuver yourself, learn, unlearn, find connection for you to be able to deliver and connect the dot, right? To me, I think in simple term, resourcefulness, be it now, going forward, COVID, non-COVID, if you have that, then it starts the other elements of your competency, right? Like having the initiative ties back to resourcefulness, having the ability to be agile tie back to resourcefulness, right? So all of that, to me, if it's single one thing that as a young graduate, I mean, current, that want to go and want to actually accelerate their career within an organization, be resourceful.
No, that's very good. And I just want to add on to that, Adli, if you don't mind, that resourcefulness, everyone, is not just about skills and grit and all the intangibles and tangibles that we speak about. It's also about contacts. Okay, if you have good contacts within the industry, one phone call, one WhatsApp, you know someone on the other side, a vendor, a supplier, correct me if I'm wrong, panel, that will give you wins. Okay, in my business of media, like relationships, oh, Ben, you got that done so fast. Wow, so terror like you. I said, no, it's not, I'm terror. It's like, I know someone on the other side. That person on the other side, we went to school together. We did a class together. We did an MBA together. We did an undergraduate together. We did a potong rambut course together. I don't know, a COVID potong rambut course. Who knows? So the network is so important. And that's the message that a lot of companies, I mean, again, panel, sorry if I'm speaking on your behalf, I'm just trying to summarize. A lot of good companies like, like Clarivate, Samdabe, Experian, TTCX, they always send a message, and other companies who are involved in Graduate Inspire 2021 as well, they always send a message out there, look, young graduates, stay with us, not just to get the skills, but to get the network. These networks will make you look like a champion one day, You have network in government, you have network in plantation, you have network in IT. I mean, doesn't mean you're a plantation person. You don't have network in IT. And those IT relationships were probably built right here, okay, in this session right here. So again, network is so important, knowing people, so be nice to everybody. And like Kelly was saying earlier, buy cookies for everybody. I think that's a great way to do it. Fortune cookies, maybe, possibly. So Christine, I mean, we're gonna be asking you quite a technical question. I don't know why. I don't know whoever wrote these questions. I don't know why they like targeted you, So, but I mean, every corporate moderated session these days, I carry my kind as a moderator and as an MC. So I am very fortunate to sit on a lot of moderated sessions where we speak about corporate things, whether it's about best practices in HR, practices that can be better, marketing above the line, below the line, and the new ways of marketing, the new ways of communication and branding. But one thing is about the new way of not the new way, the forever new way of always interpreting data or data, however way you wish to pronounce it. Now, are these young talents today, and when I say young talents, not just fresh graduates, but the ones who are forming their careers in the mid-career stage, do they all need to grasp an idea of data interpretation, data science, AI, blockchain? And I mean, I'm not trying to sound smart, because I'm not. I mean, IT is not my strong skill set, but it is a relevant question in terms of if you want to make yourself outstanding and moving forward and beating other people to the big jobs, whether it's at the C level or the manager level, or even at the senior executive level, do all these things need to come into play in terms of knowledge and skill set for you to be more marketable?
Yeah, if you ask me, Ben, to be frank, if we look at the thing, AI, data science, blockchain, they are very technical skill, right?
Technical skills.
Yeah, and you reverse back. How can someone learn technical in a better way or something? We all learn mathematics. We all learn some, like Atlee learn engineering, or even, during our secondary school, you will learn something physics or things like that. And all these things suddenly become a buzzword like data science, blockchain, and AI. I think the one thing that, if you ask me, of course, I mean, in the future, if you want to do better in your job, data literacy is something that everyone's have to. If you ask me whether it's relearn or learn again, we have to perceive data in a different way. But certainly it is not just, the only skill set that make you successful in the workplace. Just like what Bossy and Atlee said just now, being resourcefulness, able to connect the dots, being able to, agile in the workplace. I think that is, all come into the pieces together, not just all the buzzword. And a lot of people will say, will AI come into the picture and control us, take over our jobs? The only thing that I ask everyone to, if you have a smartphone, then you better be smart than your phone. Because seriously, you are just so addicted to the phone where you train your phone and you train the machine to learn more about yourself. You are not training your consciousness. You are not training yourself to be better. I think that will be even more than just not making yourself, being able to be success in the workplace. I don't think anyone should be afraid of AI, data science, blockchain. And if you are, on that track, I think that is good, certainly, for you to move into, the future of work. But like for myself, I'm not, seriously, I can't do AI and I can't do data science. But I would love to think that I'm kind of analytical. And it just because curiosity, analytical, all these things cannot be put in a CV like, I know AI, I know machine learning, and then there are, theory behind the support you. Curiosity, connect to the dots. All these skills are called soft skill before and now become the power skill. I think is really an evolution for, the employers or even, for the candidates to look into the transferable skill as well as how can we actually measure all the power skill better.
Well,
Yeah.
I like how you put that power skill. Like in Malaysia, we always say power one. So that's the power skill right there. So onto a more challenging question, but a happier question as well. No pun intended. I mean, Kelly, it's funny how this question is structured towards you when we wrote the questions. When Rajan wrote the questions before the event, but I mean, you came here and you just spoke about how to build happiness earlier through food, okay? But apart from the food, I mean, food can only. I'm not trying to be negative, but food can only take you so far. But what are some of the key components required for a happy hybrid workplace? Yes, food and online sessions are great, but you know what? A lot of people have been saying to me, and I will have the data and the numbers to prove this one day, but I didn't have it in time for this discussion. But I'm sure if you put out a survey out there, through a major newspaper or portal, a lot of people will say that they're getting frustrated because we feel like we're working in a cabin, like an airplane cabin, or one big cabin, So how do you, in your point of view, how do you get that workplace, that virtual workplace happy? Because already there's some frustration. If something lags, there's frustration. If the communication breaks down, there's frustration. If that WhatsApp didn't come on time, there's frustration. So how do you keep the happy hormones going?
Thank you, Ben. I'll just cut it short, right? In fact, they are actually survey. I did read some of the research and survey, right? Actually,
Right.
Avaya, they did a survey for more than 10,000 employees or 10,000 people from 11 countries in the world since last year, right? Basically, they understood that COVID-19 has a lot of impacts towards attitudes, right? Towards people working from home. So far, there was only 27 of the respondents. They reported no change. I mean, status quo in terms of their attitude, between 2019 and 2020. But 43% of them, they were actually less happier because the unhappiness attributed was a lack of interaction with other people. And as expected, they concentrate more on personal health. On the other side of the coin itself, right, they're actually 62% of the respondents, they are being happier because during the pandemic started, right, they mentioned, right, why they are happier because they due to several factors. One is because they felt that being felt trusted by the employer, and then they are more productive for working from home, 50% on 57% of it. Yes, and then 56% they are happier is because with the tools needed for them to work from home, I allowed them to actually commute to work. They have already saved the time to commute to work. So these are something that key attributes to that. But I have actually summarized into 5 key components. First of all, right, government together with governance and policies is very important. Without a proper teleworking policy, right, this will not make it on a good kind of healthy workplaces, especially hybrid work. We are going towards to that work environment, right? So like subsidies, policies, it can be governed. Next thing is management. Management need to have trust on employees themselves. They need to trust them in the first place rather than to managing them. Thirdly is technology, like Microsoft Teams, Zoom meetings, everything. It is so well equipped. We don't have any issues. So if communications are going on right smooth, I don't think that there's any complaints on it. Yeah. Professional development. I think employees that felt that they feel frustrated because they don't think they was being valued and things like that. But a professional development goal as a fresh graduate as well, right, is very important because do not put the responsibility on your employer. How do they develop you? But at the same time, you also need to communicate with your employees. Where do you want to see yourself, right, in 1 year down the road, 3 years down the road, and 5 years down the road? Yeah. Most importantly, the last key factors, right, components, right, that would be yourself, each and everyone, because without a good and fixated mindset, right, you may not be able to work successfully, like Posi, Ali, they all mentioned, right, agile together with the kind of characteristic that you work, right? You may have actually, turning on your video is one thing, right? But moving forward, when you join the workforce, right, most importantly is make sure you have the right bandwidth. Else, I think your bosses will have certain skeptical mindset. If you are always having a connectivity issues to connect with your bosses, I think that will actually make some impact on it. But having said that, right, the components also being flexible. Your employer trusted you, at the same time you trusted your employer. That make it a very happy hybrid workplace. Over to you, Ben.
Now, I want to add on to that, Kelly, because you answered that extremely well. Is that like also the bandwidth part about meetings, and I'll say this from experience. If your meeting's at 2:30, log on at 2:10. Okay, just to test it. I've been looked really silly in front of my clients that I logged on at 2:25, and I spent 7 minutes working because my bandwidth was weak, sorry, at that particular point. So be organized. You can multitask in this day and age. Minimize the screen. I mean, I'm very kanchong in that sense these days because I'm a little afraid of tech. I mean, I know you guys didn't see it just now before we went live. My daughter, who's 8 years old, helps me with tech. Okay, and and we all laugh at that, but that's the generation that our children are in. They are so tech savvy. So tech savvy. I mean, 8-year-olds are winning singing competitions. 8-year-olds are winning dancing. 8-year-olds are coding and God knows what. I mean, they are so smart. It's just that they just need
YouTuber, Google Ads, yeah.
The only thing I only criticize them, they need to pick up the phone a bit more. But nobody's perfect, yeah. So okay, well done to answering all the questions. We're at about 2:22 right now. I plan to finish at about 2:45, 2:50. So there are 6 questions that have come in. I'm going to, in the spirit of time, I'm just going to assign the question to all of you. So I'm going to read out the question to all of you right now. You have time to think about it. Adli, you are going to be first. So sorry, my friend, you don't have too much time to think, but this question is very adapt to you to answer it. I mean, everybody can answer this on this panel, but I think you can answer it here. So this question, and then after that we'll start. So my challenge to you is that try to answer this question, our viewers' questions, or particular question, in less than 3 sentences, if you can. Okay. So Adli, your question is from Nicole E. I'm looking at my phone, so forgive me if I'm not giving you eye contact. That's one thing about virtual. You get away with eye contact connection sometimes. So what do you do to reduce the gap between Gen Z and Gen Y in terms of working from home, techniques, and skills? Okay. Wow. Yeah, so have a think about that. I'll give you 1 minute while I go around to all our panel to give them their question. So I'm being quite kind there. Okay, and then the next question is, how do the companies keeping the momentum running with the balancing of the workforce whenever launching? Yes, I'm sorry, this is a bit of a long-winded question. This is from Nur Shafika. How do the companies, your companies, try to keep the momentum running with the balancing of the workforce whenever trying to launch something new? Yes, we are in a COVID-19 pandemic, but we still have to be innovative to be ahead of our competitors. So how do you balance that? Osi, do you mind answering that question? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Not now. Hold on. So
yeah.
Adli will be the first. I'll just tell you all the questions first. So that's your question there.
All right, sure. No problem.
No issues with that. The next question is Muhammad Nukman bin Kamarul. What is your choice of working, meeting, appointment, and setting up pandemic crisis? Is it still to proceed with virtual meeting or face-to-face method? And what are your predictions and preparations in the future, especially facing Industrial Revolution 4.0? Those are 4 questions rolled into one. So Nukman, I think you are going to be a great elevator pitch person one fine day. And I'm going to give that question to Christine. Sorry, Christine, since you're answering all the hard questions today, I'll give you that one too. All right. And then we got, okay, there's a leadership question here. I'll get everybody to answer that later. Okay, we'll finish off with that. And then that is from Haritha Munirajan. Forgive me if I mispronounce your name incorrectly, Haritha. And then this is a question here from Lee Junving. Okay, how much of the current virtual-based practices will remain after the pandemic has been controlled, and will transition of virtual to be back on site be quite smooth? That is a 2.2 question of Christine, so I'm going to hand it over to Kelly to answer that question. All right. So, and then there was another question here from Nicole again. But Nicole, since you asked the first question, I'll try my best to come back to you. But again, I'll try my best. So, Encik Adli, the engineer of everything human and technological, can you please answer the first question of the Gen Y and the generations really are working?
Okay, let me try and engineer an answer here. All right, I think the view is I would probably share what is happening in our organization. The view
Yes,
is
please.
every time we had because we brought in young graduate into our GAP program, what we call Graduate Accelerated Program, right? So the whole idea is what we also want to inculcate within our organization is to break that barrier and walls, right? So the whole idea is we're not in the setting where um, you are asked to speak, then only you can speak, right? So leaders in our organization are very open, right? You have any opinion, any viewpoint, put it across, and we are more open to listen and to actually respond. So that's how within our organization, how we do it, how we actually break that barrier, so that there is no viewpoint to say that, oh, I'm just a new joiner. I have a good idea, but I don't think so. I'm at the space to bring it up, right? So that's how we do it, and we hope to continue to do it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
that is very much correct me if I'm wrong, that's like a moderated communication.
Yes.
So when you bring the people together, this is how is the best way to do it. And try to sell it across, and hopefully they will pick it up. And
Yep.
but it's not something that just can be settled in a meeting. It is an evolutionary process. Thanks, Adli, for sharing. I think you answered that in 3.5 sentences, so I'll give you half. Boleh lah. Okay, so what about you in terms of your particular question from the floor?
Okay, so so basically, if how do companies strike a balance, right? So I think it's a two-way thing. Having a two-way communication, understanding the needs of our employees, what's going on in their minds, what are their issues if they have, pointing them to various help, like what Kelly says. We do have communication channels to help employees with their mental well-being, as what Adli mentioned. But also at the same time communicating what our business initiatives and priorities are, so that we can let our employees also understand what is going on with our business, and what help we also need from them while we extend help to them. So it is actually a two-way thing where we strike a balance. And also one of the things that probably it's the trend nowadays is hybrid working. So taking turns to come to the office, right? And then communicating what is the impact to the business. And I think the communication channel, just one strategy, communicate, and it's a two-way thing. That's the strategy going forward.
Okay. So communication, I mean, both of you have spoken heavily about communication, and
Right.
let's be honest, everyone, communication is the hardest thing to do. Does the left hand know what the right hand is doing? Usually
Yes.
there's always some sort of block right there. We don't know why. We don't mean it, but there's always, oh, I forgot to tell, and you can't use that excuse anymore, because people might think you're a bit disrespectful. So you want to be, especially in this time and age, correct me if I'm wrong, we always want to be respectful of people and sensitive. I mean, we Malaysians, we really give a lot of meaning to that word sensitive, because we're respecting a lot of cultures, a lot of values, religions, and all the above. Okay, so well done there, Kosi, for answering that. Perfect lead from what Adli set up for you. So communication and communication. Okay, so Christine, this person has asked you for the magic Experian wand answer. Tough question to answer, but please, my dear, have a go.
Yeah, I think somehow Adli and Posse has also mentioned moving forward is certainly hybrid, if you ask me. I think even before this, when you perhaps some organization has already doing it, if your interviewer is in overseas, not in Malaysia, you'll be doing a virtual interview, right? I think for with pandemic now, I think it just get closer to us, get closer to our candidate, especially our young graduates. You get to experience that even faster before you get into the workplace, or even before you get to the job. So if you ask me, moving forward, we will certainly adapt to the hybrid model. Yeah.
Right. Okay, the hybrid model is the way to go. Thanks very much, Christine. And Kelly, your question, very similar, a little bit
Yeah.
similar to Christine's, yeah?
That's right. That's right. I think Haminder asked about it, right? How much virtual work is going to be done, right, in the future after pandemic? I would say it depends. It very much depends on your company, whether your company do have that such policy allow you to work from home. But do not blame the company, because there are certain work, for example, it involves a lot of paperwork, right? Like invoices and things like that. Or even you need to meet your stakeholders regularly. And this is where it make it maybe it's less harder for you to be 100% working from home or working virtually. On the other hand, other roles that you just need to use, like let's say whatever communications, right, through chat, email, WhatsApp messages and things like that. If you're working on some roles like regional basis as well, that you just need to make the meetings virtually, and this is where it will allow you to work from home. On the other hand, right, how much work is going to be done? I would say hybrid work, that would be hybrid kind of workplace is going to take place moving forward, because that will be beneficial to both employees and employer. You cannot just work from home 100% because you need that kind of bonding. Yeah. So do respect in terms of the employer's decision. And sometimes you may actually, even if you go for interview, right, it's valid for you to ask about this question, right? To express your kind of expectation, also letting your employers know about your preference as well, not to suit to your preference, but at least they will try to accommodate or try to consider that as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now those are some great answers. Look, we've got I've been told to wrap this up by 2:40 in the next 9 minutes. So what I'm gonna do, I've got 3 more questions to ask you, but they're 3 very compact questions which require a compact, tight answer. So I'm going to be nice about this, as I usually am. So the first question, this is coming from Wendy, and I'm going to start. I'm going to give my opinion. So not that because I want to give my opinion, that 40 seconds will give you guys time to think. Okay, all right. So this question is from Wendy. Given the situation that we're in, working from home and all of the above, should we continue this model if everything goes back to normal next year? Okay, all right. So again, yes or no? Your reason, short and sweet. Okay, the second question is, and I will also lead that question with my opinion because so just to give you guys more time to think. This question was from Haritha. How do we develop the next generation of leaders in a very remote world? Sometimes we love going to workshops. We love going to Benkils. We love going to training. We love getting certificates and awards. We love the really expensive makan that when we in the hotel when we go to these trainings, and we love taking the pictures. We love waiting, but that's no more. I mean, very much condensed and reduced. So how do we develop leaders in this very different time? Again, quickly your opinion on that. And the third question is that how would you sum up this conversation in terms of the 2021 workplace and beyond? How would you sum it up in one word? Is it your point of view? It's a hashtag, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a photo and I'm going to put it out there on LinkedIn, Facebook, and all of the above. I mean, Graduan's going to do this as well. Is that I'm a firm believer in, I'm a teacher, I'm a trainer, I'm a firm believer in key learnings. So what's the key learnings that when someone watches this or looks at this post and say, what is the key learnings that we took out of the discussion with Percy, with Adli, with Christine, and with Kelly? Okay, because I mean, everybody's on the go. They don't have time to watch the whole thing. They'll probably try to watch the whole thing tonight, or when the kids go to bed or whatever. So does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so I'll start the ball rolling, and then we'll do something a bit differently. Kasian Adli going first all the time. Okay, we'll go to Kelly first, then we'll go to Christine, then we'll go to Percy, then we go to Adli. Okay, kasihlah chance Adli. Okay, you've done well, bro. Okay, so in terms of the question from Wendy, do you think that we should keep this pandemic, like this flexible work arrangement going if everything was to go back to normal, let's just say tomorrow or next week? I say maybe because it depends on the organization that you work for. I think some organizations are dying to go back to what it was. Okay, but you can't go back to what it was because I think the now is everybody has to wear a mask. I think the couple of questions will be asked is, how often are you vaccinated? And the evolution of the vaccination will affect that. Okay, I don't think it'll be second dose anymore. Maybe it'll be third dose, maybe it'll be fourth dose. Who knows? Okay, will companies do PCR testing every single day? That's a thing that will affect your HR medical budgets. Okay, and those conversations are not easy right there. So I think my point of view, it's a maybe. It's a maybe, depending on the organization that you work with. But it has brought a lot of new dimensions on how to work virtually. and how to work from home. And in my business, how to do an event virtually as well. Okay, so it's a big, big maybe with a capital M. Kelly?
Yep. My answer is maybe as well. If let's say everybody tend to be productive, why not?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Short and sweet. Short and sweet. Christine?
If you ask me if we are going to fly with the future, it's still going to be hybrid. And, I don't think that there is nowhere that we force everyone to go back and work 5 days a week in the office. Yes.
Exactly. It is what it is, Pussy?
Right. So my answer is it depends on the role. For example, if you're a facilities or a building manager, you definitely need to be on site, right? Or if you are a production operator, you definitely need to be on site. But there are roles that you can work from home. And I think from that aspect, like what Adli says, we save space and we can save a lot of carbon footprint. And that's something that we have to ponder on and work on.
Okay, cool, cool. Adli, the whole panel seems to be quoting you today, bro. I think you're like the PhD professor, according to Adli et al. Dr. Adli, what say you?
I would say yes. I think, but if I were to take all of the answer from the team panelists, yes, it depends on the role and the organization. But to expect things will be back fully like normal from before, I don't think so. Yep.
And thank you so much for that. You don't think so? Maybes, and the hybrid model stays. And then the question about developing not just leaders, but your leadership skills. If you're a person who is an executive or a manager, I remember when I used to work before I was in media, I was in corporate before, and I remember someone sent me this chart of leadership with bang, bang, and bang, 3 parts. Manager of self, which is the easiest person in the world to manage. Management of others, you're the manager managing an executive or maybe a trainee. And then manager of managers, where you're managing a department of people. So that's tough, yeah, by the way. It's tough. To manage people is tough. Like they said, the good old human resource quote, robots are easy to manage. There's an off and on button. Humans, there's no off and on button. So in terms of developing leaders, I would say that the company does have to make time for virtual sessions, tangible and intangible skills. And also whether they have the budget for that is another story. Don't forget, leadership training is expensive. Whether if you want to get someone internal, okay, it's cheaper. But if you want to rah-rah your employees, external might be the way to go, but it is a bit costly, and everybody is looking at every cent these days. So I think what a lot of young people can do out there, you all are so lucky. You live in the YouTube generation. Go to YouTube, but don't just go to YouTube and watch the no disrespect, the European Western content. Try to look for Asian leaders who will give you a good perspective of the Asian way of doing it, modern, but still Asian and still relevant to our culture. Because if you try to be American tomorrow and you work for a local company, that might not work, okay? So that's one point. Graduan does a very good job interviewing leaders of various companies and putting in content on the platforms. So that's a really, really good thing to do as well. I myself have started a YouTube channel called Great People TV, while interviewing leaders, hopefully more local leaders from various industries. So I'm trying to do that as well as a passion, because I'm very passionate about leadership. So again, you try to find content like that out there to stay relevant to you. Like I've said this several times on the panel today. Take the toolbox. You have a toolbox. Take what's relevant to you and put it in your toolbox. In the Junbing toolbox, the Nicole toolbox, the Wendy toolbox. What's relevant to you? So Kelly, what's your views on developing leadership skills? Not just a generation of leaders, but people who want to develop their leadership skills.
Yeah, like what you mentioned, right, Ben, is very relevant because in terms of developing leadership skills, which is costly. On the other hand, try to look for like LinkedIn training, kind of
LinkedIn training, okay,
right?
good,
yeah.
Yep.
At the same time, you can also look for YouTube because there's a lot of trainings available for you. Yeah. I will actually move on towards for situational leadership because we'll look at different employees and then you actually manage them differently. Over to you.
Christine, well said.
Yeah, for me, before we go for any external training or even courses, right, I think one thing that I would like to urge, everyone, invest in yourself, know yourself better. If your Facebook know you better, that is really wrong because you have outsourced, the skill of, knowing yourself to the Facebook. or the social media. I think one thing that you really have to know yourself better and have the consciousness about what are you doing and what are you developing yourself today before you even want to sort out, the external skills. And then another thing that for me is, if you are someone, able to, for me, coaching and mentoring is very important. Yeah. And if you are able to comment openly on Facebook or any other social media, I will urge you to have the courage, to go on LinkedIn, look for someone that you think can be a mentor for you. Just at least, take up the courage and ping the person. Even if there's no reply, then, it's okay. I think that is a good social experiment. And if you get a reply, that's a good win. I have done that myself. If you want any tips, let me know.
Yes, and a lot of our speakers today are very LinkedIn savvy. So you can just go up to them, say, look, I saw you on Graduate Aspire. You can say how wonderful they were and how they want answers, and ask them about some mentoring tips, because coaching and mentoring may sound easy, but it's not, right? Everyone?
Right.
It's not. It's probably one of the hardest things to do, because everybody's busy. Oh, I'm so busy, I cannot do that. Sorry, I meet you for lunch. Mentoring is not taking out someone for lunch. Okay, it's actually about sitting down and going through deliverables and competencies, learning outcomes, and actually a structure and a system towards it. Okay, so Kelly has said situational leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Christine has said don't outsource everything to Facebook. So, and Percy, what's your view?
I want to give heads up to Christine because, right after the testing last week, she reached out to me and, started the networking. So I think that don't just say it, but walk the talk. And I agree with Christine that mentoring is very, very important. Seek out a good leader to be your mentor. Set yourself a goal. What is your career goal? What do you want to be? Right? Sometimes when you aim for the sky, you fall, but at least you fall on the coconut tree, So it doesn't matter. As long as you set a goal and then get somebody to guide you along. And what I do notice about great leaders as well, they do read books. It's old-fashioned, I understand, but reading books are still something that is still relevant today. So set yourself a goal of reading a book, once a month or once a year. It doesn't matter. It depends on your own speed, right? But if you at least improve yourself 1% per day, right? In 100 days, you will be 100% already.
Very well, nicely said. So I challenge all our, because studies have shown, I used to work full time as a TV presenter, and our TV statistics always show that Malaysia's readership was very low, okay, and the TV viewership was very high, so which kept people like me in a job. But I mean, on the other side of me, I always tell people to read books. I always and Pussy, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna take it one step further. I love that point that you said read books.
Go ahead.
I've always asked junior presenters who worked under me to read books, but they probably would be lucky if they read 2 pages. So I challenge a lot of people out there to read 10 pages a day of something, okay? Or something, the basics of marketing, the fundamentals of PR, the performance management 360-degree, whatever, just 10 pages. 10 pages, I mean, you're all smart people, it'll probably take you 10 minutes or less, okay? Yep. So that's good situational leadership. Do not outsource to Facebook. Percy was saying mentorship, set your career goals, read books. Professor Adley.
I think one for me, I think it's the easiest, right? I would assume that most of the viewer today, if you go back and look at your phone and look at your time spent to look at your phone, and what are the most used apps, one part of it would be YouTube, right? So the simplest way to do this, there's a lot of TEDx, less than 3 minutes video, right? You have like 1.5 minutes. Take it bite size. A day you look at one video. There's Simon Sinek there. There's a lot of other people in terms of leadership perspective, right? Do that, because I use that also on my free time. I mean, in between reading books, I also am actually at fault. I need to read more books, not at the speed, but I actually substitute that with a TEDx video, small items, quick bite-sized view that I can put across as something new on the learning perspective, right? Do that. If you don't have time, you can't read book. If you can't spend 10 minutes a day to read book, spend at least 1.5 minutes to view those kind of videos. Yep.
Okay. So basically, I think the panel has said set yourself 20 minutes probably a day. Okay, maybe before you go to sleep, after dinner, whatever, when the kids have gone to bed, you watch some bite-sized videos and then you read 10 pages and then you look at your goals. Okay, look at your goals and measure where you give those goals a timeline. Correct, guys? Should we do this? We encourage give yourself some goals, some timeline, and like how far you're away from those goals. I've worked with some fantastic. I mean, through Graduate Aspire, I work with in these moderated sessions. The best part for me about these moderation sessions is that the relationship that happens after, that you get to know them better, that we get to moderate in other sessions, and we all have this. We discuss about leadership and development, and it's a really passionate topic of ours, and that's why I'm here every year with Graduate Aspire. So, I mean, the smartest people, when I say smart, not academically smart, they know where they're going. They put up on the wall, by 2025, I got to do this. Whether it's a personal goal or a professional goal. I want to do this, I want to do this. And then, I always say, put it in the toilet next to your towel, because you always have to get to your towel to mandi, right? So when you get your towel, you look at it, you go, how far am I away from it? It's great. And then when you mandi, you reflect, okay, I'm a bit behind, I got to move faster, or I'm ahead of the game, great. Maybe I can take more time to shampoo my hair. Okay, so all the above. All right, panel, this has been very, very inspirational, funny in a good way, haha, funny, that it's given us all something to reflect upon, ponder upon the obvious, but obviously think about the future as well. Just to end all things, can you please give me one word or maybe 3 or 4 words in a hashtag, I prefer one word, okay, or we prefer one word, that sums up this topic right here to give some antidotes to our viewers out there on this topic, the 2021 workplace and beyond. And I'll start with you, Christine.
Boundless.
Say that again.
Boundless.
Powerless or bowelless? Sorry.
Boundless.
Oh, boundless.
B-O-U-N-D. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think, it is really time to try out everything, to not go back to the past or the old normal. So you just have to continue to reimagine your strengths, the power skill that you have to move forward. Yeah.
Okay. Say that word again.
Boundless.
Boundless. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Okay, Pussy?
Okay, for me, it's revivolution.
I thought you'd say that.
Yeah, I put it in the chat. So so it's a combination of revive as well as evolution. I think it is something that it's always the future.
Okay. Adli?
#adapt.
Why adapt?
Because change is imminent, right? If you can't adapt, you're gonna challenge the change and want to refrain yourself from the change, then it's not gonna work.
Okay. Thank you so much. Kelly?
Say be more and be happier. Be more meaning to say willing to do more. At the same time, right? What makes you more important is behavior itself. If you actually have a good behavior and you are able to work better, and this is where you'll be happier at work. Be more and be happier.
So be more, be happier. Cool. So
that's right.
The words, according to this panel, boundless, revolution, adapt, be more, be happier. And be more, be happier is one word. Look, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you who have tuned into this wonderful session of the 2021 Workplace and Beyond with your Boise Talent Acquisition Senior Lead at Clarive, Encik Adli Walid, Head of Human Resources at Sam Dabi, aka the Professor. Okay, and then we've got Ms. Christine Young, Talent Acquisition Manager, Experian, and we've got Ms. Kelly Fong, Head of Talent Acquisition at TDCX. They have answered this question, the questions extremely well, extremely passionately. We can go on and on and on. And it is 2:50, and I told my graduate people 2:41, but I'm 9 minutes late. But hey, 9 minutes late, it's okay in this virtual day and age. Our advice to all of you is just to keep the positivity going. It is a little bit unknown in terms of what the future holds, in terms of how we work, but work is work. It needs to be done, and you need to deliver. So deliver it in style, deliver it in happiness, and deliver it that it makes an impact for your company and for you, that you get the wins to develop your career. My name is Ben Ibrahim. It's been a pleasure to be your virtual host for this wonderful session. Thank you very much to Christine, Kelly, Ali, and Boise. You've been fantastic. We'll catch up with you soon. Grudge and Aspire 2021.